just hearing her say the words "my bright pink fuckhole," dude, it's slayed. It's slayed at that table. And I couldn't contain myself. My brother and I just looked at each other and started dying laughing. Episode of The Pupil's Life. My name is Nick, and if you've been here before, welcome back. If you're a newcomer, welcome in. I've got a few things to talk about today, but before I get into that, how are you guys doing? How has your holiday season been? Have you gotten the gifts that you asked for? Have you gotten some surprise gifts? Have you given any gifts? I think that was I've learned this lesson before, but I think that was my lesson this year is that I enjoy giving gifts a lot more than I enjoy receiving gifts. And it's a little bit different, depending on if it's your birthday or if it's Christmas. Christmas, there's multiple people opening gifts. And so it almost feels like, at least to me, it almost feels like there's, if somebody cries at a gift, then there's like pressure, fuck, now I gotta cry. If I don't cry, does that mean the other person's going to be upset? They're going to think I didn't like their gift. But when you're giving gifts, it's like, if they don't like the gift, they're not going to say anything, unless it's like fucking coal or something. They're not going to be like, oh, cool, a t-shirt, thank you. Unless they're like a jerk, man. If they're a jerk, then they might say that. But anyone else, they'll just, they'll fake it. But at the end of the day, I think most times people will enjoy, getting something is like, you didn't have to get anyone anything. So it's like, it's like when you make somebody a meal and they complain about it, it's like, who else makes you free meals? Get the fuck out of here. That happened to me once, man. I made one of my ex-girlfriends. I made her a torta de cochinita pibil, pork, and I just, I don't know how to. It's an extended process, like a multiple day process to make this kind of pork from scratch. But they sell it in these neat little pouches at the grocery store. And so I bought one of these pouches. It's a traditional Yucatecan food, which is where I'm from. And, growing up, I ate cochinita pibil in tortas, just flatbread. 2 flatbreads squeezed together like a little Subway sandwich, but it was pork and beans, right? So I buy a pouch of beans, a pouch of pork, and I tell her, hey, I'm going to make dinner for you. Come over. This was early on in our relationship. And I open the 2 pouches and I start frying them. And then I put them in the thing in the bread. And mind you, this whole time I'm telling her, like, this is like one of the foods that I ate when I was a kid. So this is why I'm making it for you. And when she sees that I am taking it out of a pouch, she starts laughing. And she says, "That's not really making dinner, though, if it's already cooked." And I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm putting it on a frying pan and I'm plating it." She said, "But yeah, but it's already cooked. You're not cooking dinner." And I was just, I don't remember how that conversation ended, but I just remember feeling like a fucking gut punch of like, man, all of a sudden I wish I hadn't have made this for you. Like if this is how you're gonna respond, I don't need you to like be like, "Oh my god, this is your childhood food, it's amazing." But if you're just gonna go the complete opposite and fucking, you know, critique and tell me that what I'm doing isn't what I'm doing just because it's fucking pre-cooked. That's how I feel about gifts. Is like, I don't care what you get me. The fact that you got me something and that you thought of me, um, that's enough. You could get me a letter. You could get me a fucking bracelet. You could get me fucking $10, man. You could give me whatever you want. It's the thought, at least for me, and I know people are different. I know somebody's like, "I don't want you to fucking guess what I'm gonna want for Christmas. Here's a list. Give me something off of this list." And for me, that's a little bit just, I understand it. I'm not judging it, but for my taste and my likes, that just wouldn't do anything for me, you know. Um it's like the it feels very transactional at that point, and I don't think that the point of gift giving is transactional. I think it is about human connection, and I think it is about um really sitting down and thinking, all right, what are these people, what is this person, what do they need, what do they want? Think back on my relationship with this person, and where have there been moments where I see them lacking something, um, and if you don't know the person, then try and get to know them. Odds are you're not going to spend Christmas Day with somebody that you've never met, you know. Um, and even if you do, that was the case for me. I spent it with my brother's girlfriend and her mom, just the four of us. And I don't even know my brother's girlfriend that well. But I just thought, like, all right, man, I could show up without gifts, and that would be the worst option, you know. Everybody's going to be opening gifts, and I'm just going to be sitting there opening gifts, and nobody's going to be opening my gifts. I could do that, but then I would feel bad. I could get them, I don't know. I could just go on Amazon and buy them some like default, you know. Here's this new fucking, I don't know, dude. I could get them something that I have no meaning or thought put into, or I could, stop viewing this as like a chore and a problem, and just see it as what it is, an opportunity. Oh, this is an opportunity to get to know this person, and this is an opportunity to let them get to know me, because I'm not the kind of person that gets you something off of your Christmas list. I'm the kind of person that you give your Christmas list to, and I'm like, "Oh, cool." Trash. Now I'm going to sit and think about something that is more meaningful, you know? Because at the end of the day, like I don't know, man. I just don't see the point in that. It's like, and that was a lot of what my childhood was like. And no not putting that down, but I'm just saying that was why it didn't really feel like all that special, I guess, because I already knew what to expect. And I think part of the magic of Christmas and gift giving in general is just that unexpected, you know, um, like I didn't know what my brother's girlfriend or her mom got my brother, and watching him open that and just not knowing what's he gonna get, it's like there's I think that's the point of gift giving. It's that moment. It's not the moment when you open it and now you've got all your presents and you're like, ah, shit, cool, man, now I'm gonna use all the things that I already knew I was gonna get. It's that moment when you're opening the gift and there's this like sort of just this feeling of like, what's gonna be in this box, you know what's gonna be in this box. And if you're not the one opening it, it's just like, I wonder what in the hell they got him, because that's also the fun part, is that you're thinking about, what should I get this person, and they're thinking, what should I get that person too, like if you're talking about the same person, like my brother. And so it's like, I got him a memoir by Sally Mann called Hold Still, and it's a memoir with photographs, because he's talked about wanting to make a book that is kind of, not necessarily a memoir, but he's talked about different ideas. And I thought, oh shit, here's the perfect sort of inspirational book for him to read and to get into that idea, you know. And I knew nobody else was going to get him that gift, but I had not a hard time, but I had like 6 or 7 ideas for gifts, and I slowly started finding reasons why 4 or 5 of those weren't really the right gift. I thought about getting him fucking 6 grams of mushrooms, or 5 grams, or whatever the hero's dose would be for him. I thought about getting him that because he's talked about wanting to do plant medicine. But at the end of the day, I was like, I've said at the end of the day like 6 times already. That's annoying. But I almost just said it again. Even more annoying. I didn't get him that because I just thought, this isn't something that you give somebody as a gift. This is something that they seek out, and that they have to really want. And so if I gave him that, it's like, oh, here is 8 hours of processing it's like, it's almost like, hey man, here's your Christmas gift, I found you a therapist. you know and but so anyway, it's fun because I had my list of gifts for my brother, and I didn't know what his girlfriend was going to get him. I didn't know what his girlfriend's mom was going to get him. And yeah, it's just exciting. It's just exciting to not know. I think it's one of the few times in our lives, one of the few like recurring times throughout our year that we welcome uncertainty. At least for me. And so yeah, man, that was I spent it with them, and it just made me realize, like, why would I, for so many years I was like afraid to be excited about Christmas. And this year was like the first real Christmas that I've experienced. And my brother, we talked about this, it was the same for him. This was the first real Christmas we've had probably in like 6 or 7 years. You know, probably even longer, because when I lived with my dad, when it was just me and my dad and his girlfriend, we still gave each other gifts, but like my dad was just this kind of like sour, like, don't get me anything. And my stepmom would get me things, but I wouldn't get her a thing. I was just in a weird place and time, and and this year it was like we woke up, or I drove over there, they were already making breakfast, so we eat breakfast, and then we give, there's three dogs, right? The mom has a dog, my brother has a dog, and his girlfriend has a dog. And all three of the dogs are there, and we all got them gifts, and they've got their stockings too, man. And like, we just went, like, we took turns, right? Here's fucking for Ellie, my brother's dogs. Like, I got her some Jiminy Cricket treats, which are like crickets and oats and a few other things. And as my brother's opening these for her, she's like sniffing the fucking bag, and she's like putting her snout inside the stocking, and just like uh there's like a huge Christmas tree with a bunch of gifts under it, and we all just took turns opening each other's gifts, and I just forgot, like there this kind of like ritual of giving each other gifts that I had lost, and that I was fortunate enough to experience this year. Um, yeah, man, it's just a special time, and I don't think that you have to have Santa involved. I don't think that children need to be lied to experience the magic of Christmas. Um, they could learn about the fucking they can learn about the lie, but I don't think that they need to be lied about. They could just be made a part of it. Like, yeah, man, every fucking year there's this story that, like, it's a made up story, but it's a fun story that, and like, I don't, if my kid read fucking, like, if my kid read Jurassic Park and asked me, hey, daddy, did this really happen? Is there really a Jurassic Park? I'm not going to lie to him and say, oh, yeah, son. And those explorers all really went there, and one of them did get torn to shreds. I'm just going to say, oh, you know, science, there, it is believed that there were dinosaurs millions of years ago, or hundreds of thousands of years ago, or whatever. But no, kiddo, that's called a fictional book. So somebody sat down and took something that was real and just turned it into something that isn't. And that's a fun thing to do, and it's a fun thing to read. He's like, oh man, maybe I want to do that someday. Or like, instead of fucking like, yeah, there was really a Jurassic Park, son. You be careful when you go to Colombia, because you never know what you're gonna find in the fucking jungle. The dinosaurs are still roaming the world. Like, I hate that people's excuse is like, well, but you want your kids to believe in magic. It's like, motherfucker, fiction is magic. I don't need to lie to a tiny boy or girl in order for them to believe in magic. It's so fucking, I don't know, man. I don't know. At the end of the day, you can fuck up your kid as much as you want, but I don't have to. Um, and and I haven't been in that situation before, but I don't know, man. I don't know that I could lie to someone else's kid about Christmas, you know. And that's not necessarily saying that I would tell them the truth, but I would just, if they ask me like, so is Santa Claus real? I'd be like, oh, you can ask your mom and dad about that, you know? Like, and they're like, well, why don't you want to tell? And it's like, oh, you can ask your mom and dad. I'd just be like an NBA player after the game at the press conference. It'd just be like, well, the team did really well, and the coaches got plans for our next game. We're just thinking about the next game right now, and it's a team effort, and we're looking forward to the next game. Just give the fucking default answer that, like, is not controversial, and it's not going to get you in any trouble. That's probably what I would do. We also played Cards Against Humanity, on Christmas Eve. And dude, there's something about this time that I played it that was completely different than every other time I've played it before. Because every other time I've played it in the past has either been with one of my girlfriends and her friends, or with a girl that I've just started seeing and her friends, or with like one of my friends and his friends who am meeting for the first time, and I think that game works best when it's with people that you feel comfortable with and people that you sort of have a pre-established relationship with, so I know my brother's girlfriend, limited amount, but he and I talk about, like, he talks about their relationship a lot with me, and I've met her, I've spent some time with her. And then there was her mom and this other guy, Ken, who I didn't know, but like I feel comfortable because my brother's there and there's not really any fucking stake. Like if my brother's girlfriend's family doesn't like me, like fucking that has no impact in my life. And so the thing that normally happens for me where it's like I'm worried about people liking me didn't exist this time, right? And there's also something about playing that game with somebody that is, older than 40. Uh, it, and her, my my brother's his girlfriend's mom, dude, it was just I don't even remember, how there's the black card and then the white card has all the answers. I don't even remember what the black card said, but there was a moment where it was her turn to read the answers, and one of the answers, which I hadn't been the one to select, and so it caught me even more by surprise. Just hearing her say the words "my bright pink fuckhole," dude, it's slayed. It's slayed at that table. And I couldn't contain myself. My brother and I just looked at each other and started dying laughing. Because dude, there's I don't know how old she is, but she's no younger than 40, and not probably a lot older than that either. And it's just like, I don't remember. It would probably be a lot funnier if I remember the black card, but just hearing a professional, an adult woman say my bright pink fuckhole, dude, and a woman that I am not like that close with, and there were just so many moments like that, like my brother, he read one that was like, my stupid fat daughter. And it's just, dude, you know, I think the thing is that when you play with people that you don't really know and you don't know their sense of humor, it's like, you don't really feel that comfortable sort of, dying laughing. Like there was one that my brother my brother read out that was like, when I'm not playing video games, I'm blank or something like that. And I slipped in a little white card, and when he read it, he said, when I'm not playing video games, I'm fucking my sister. And I just cackled, but everybody at the table was like, ooh, that's a little bit too far. And like I still felt comfortable enough to just keep laughing, because it's like, dude, I don't fucking, it's just a silly game, you know. But if I was with, I don't know why it's different, but if I was with um, a girlfriend and her friends, or a friend and his friends, I'd just be like, well, what if they think that I actually think that that's okay? Like as if laughing about something means that you think it's okay, right? Like I don't know when it became that. Um, but I had a wonderful time, and I'm so grateful that I got to spend it with, not just with people that welcomed me, but it's also it was amazing to spend it with my brother and people that he is developing relationships with, like, because this is really like the first serious relationship my brother has had. And you could just see that he's happy, man, and that he's like, that he feels comfortable, he's himself. um he is himself around them, and that sort of makes me feel like I can be myself around them too. um so so yeah, man, that was my holidays. I hope you guys had good holidays. I i also played, I talked about this on the last podcast, my friend Keller and his boyfriend John, um, John Baxa, John Basha. I don't know how the fuck you pronounce that, but I talked about a game that he created, he developed, called the Vessels, Vessels, and it's on Steam, and it's only on Steam for Windows. But so if you have a Mac, you're kind of fucked. But if you have Windows, then I highly recommend playing it, because it's only like an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours long. And it's like it's like the movie Aliens, but without the aliens. Um, and it's a point and click sort of. I was playing it, man, and it was just the point of the game is that there's four crewmates on a spaceship, but you're the one that has been quarantined in this glass fucking room or whatever. And the three other crewmates are standing in front of you, and they're asking you, like, do you remember who you are? What's your name? And you don't know anything. At first you don't know anything. And so you have to sort of talk to them and find out who you are, why you're here, and all these things. And then slowly they incorporate this element where you take over these other people. You take over their vessel, right? And then you get to roam the ship. And when you're roaming the ship, you have, it's like a mystery. You have to figure out how the fuck you can let yourself out of the quarantine, because nobody wants to let you out. And you just slowly start to learn about these crewmates, and it's a simple game, but the story is not simple. And the story, you can tell that there was a lot of work put into it. And there's just a few moments that feel like they're very cinematic. And my fucking adrenaline was like, doof, 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 but my heart was doing that. My adrenaline wasn't doing that. And the lighting changes on the ship, and it's just, yeah, there's some pretty memorable moments in that. And it's funny, man, because after, I don't know if this had anything to do with that, but after I played that game that night, I went to bed and I had a fucking, dude, just one of the wildest dreams in recent time. Partly due to the fact that I remember, like, pretty fucking detailed length of the thing. And it's also, I think, because I went to bed at like 9:30, and I don't know all the science behind it, but I know for a fact that the earlier you go to sleep, the more your dreams are vivid. And so I had this dream where I'm in high school, but I'm at my childhood home, and there's a big party. It's a big party, and our pool in our childhood home was like a long and narrow pool where you could almost jump from one side to the other. and we're all sort of like hanging out at this pool, and I look up. I'm in the pool, and I look up to somebody that's on the edge of the pool, and it's one of my close friends' brother, older brother, and he's like putting on some clothes or something. He's putting on like a sweater vest with long pockets, like little stomach pockets. And this other kid, Carlos, he comes up to the other guy, and he sneakily, like, the guy putting on the sweater vest doesn't know what's happening. He hasn't felt his presence, but there's Carlos behind him, puts his hands inside the pockets. And I'm like about to laugh, right? Because I think, oh, here he goes. He's going to jump in the pool with him. But instead, he pushes this kid, like an evil push, like a strong enough push that the kid he pushed is tossed in the air and lands on the other side of the pool, on the other side of like the edge, the little rail thing, with his neck, and snaps his neck, and then falls in the pool. And I'm in the pool, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I swim over to him, and I hold him above water, and I'm just yelling like, help, help, call 911. And I'm just fucking freaking out, dude. And I'm trying to keep him above water. And I'm like, dude, everything's going to be okay. Just breathe. And then I bring him outside of the water, and the police start to show up. And as they start to show up, this Carlos kid walks away, right? And starts to like make his escape. But as he does, he grabs like a fucking tire iron and just smashes this car's window, like a random car window. And I hear the kid who is practically dead in my arms. I hear his sister, who is my friend, yelling out like, that's my dad's car. That's not fair. Why are you doing this? Like, this isn't fair. Life isn't fair. And I just feel that emotion of like, this is unjust. And I need to be the one that fucking corrects this. And so the police show up, and I'm like eager. This kid's dead now. This kid has died, and I'm like, I walk up to the police. I'm like, I saw everything. I'll tell you everything that happened. I know who was responsible for this. And then another one of my friends, another one of the kids at the party, says like, oh, really? You saw everything? I saw everything too. So what did you see? And I'm like, I'm not telling. You tell. What did you see? And so he starts to tell the story that I just told you, but he stops, right? He stops before the sweater part. And he just says like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Because if I do, then I know they're going to do the same thing to me, right? If I confess that they committed this murder, it's just they, because he was like with a group of friends. If I confess that they killed this guy, or that they're criminals or whatever, they're going to come after me, and they're going to kill me too. And then, dude, I go into this fucking, Dead Poet Society speech, and I just stand up and I say, I'm telling the truth. And let me tell everybody here, one of the lessons I've learned in my life, if I don't tell the truth right now, that means that I'm also a part of this murder. There is no safety, and there is no guarantee that by telling the truth, I won't be, sought after by these guys, and they won't do the same to me. But if I don't tell the truth right now, I will live the rest of my life knowing that I was a part of this murder. And that's not worth it. It is more worth it to tell the truth and to pay the consequences, suffer the consequences, than it is to not do it and get away with secrecy. Karma will catch up to you, I said. And so I told them, Carlos pushed this man into the pool and broke his neck. And then he smashed this car's windows. And, cut to like an hour later, People are leaving. People have already left. There's not that many people at the party. And everybody's just sort of like traumatized. They're all shaking because it's colder now for some reason. And I asked one of the cops, I'm shaking now because I've told the truth. And now it's starting to sink in that, I'm in danger now. And it's a female cop. And I ask her, so are you guys going to protect me? Like, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen with me? And she says, oh, well, kid, that's not how things work in Mexico. You might get a phone call from us a couple of weeks from now. And depending on what the DA wants to do with this case, just this whole fucking like bullshit filler talk that was basically saying, we can't do anything for you. You're fucked. And I was like, okay, well, that fucking sucks. And then I had this flash where I realized all of a sudden that this involved more than just me. I thought about this guy, his parents are powerful. And what if they come after my dad? And what if they come after his business? and so cut to, the next day or a couple days later, and I'm at the grocery store. But it feels like a CVS pharmacy for some reason. And I'm checking out, and I've got like a loaf of bread, and I've got a few other things. And I turn around, this girl taps me on the shoulder. I turn around, and she's like a known friend of Carlos. And she says, "Hey, give me 5,000." And I'm like, 5,000 what? And she's like, "Give me 5,000 pesos." And I'm like, I don't have fucking 5,000 pesos on me right now. And she's like, okay, well then give me 200 or 2,000. And I say, I'm not giving you any money. And then she turns around and she's like, and fucking Carlos and his squad show up. And they start like ripping my loaf of bread up and throwing it on the ground. And they fucking take my groceries and just rip them up. And I'm just like, fucking, I look at the checkout aisle lady and I'm like, can you call security? I need help. This is, I'm not safe right now. And she's like, I'm busy. Okay. I'm busy. There's a lot of people here. I'll get to you. I'm fucking busy. And I'm just freaking out, dude. And Carlos comes up to me and he says, hey, you're going to give me 200 or we're going to kill you. Or I think he says, or we're going to do the same thing to you that we did to that kid. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. I'm like, all right, 200. I'll give you I've got 200 right now. 200 pesos. And he's like, no. You're going to give me 200,000 pesos if you want to get away alive. And I just collect the few groceries that I still can. I put them in a fucking basket. I don't even pay for them. And I walk not through the checkout aisle, but away from it. And I find one of those people that helps you find an item. And I say to her, like, hey, I need somebody to walk me out to my car. I'm not safe. I need a security guard to walk me out to my car. And she says, like, hey, son, honey, the store's busy right now, but I'll tell you what, I'll walk out with you. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. Now I've involved her. This isn't going to end well for her, And I think that's where the dream ends, is me about to leave the grocery store, unsure of whether or not I will survive the walk to my car. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fucking vessels. But when I woke up, what I thought was, what a fantastic idea for a story or for a novel. And where I would pick it up from, right there. And how I would see it play out is, you got this kid, this high schooler who the story starts out, it starts off with the party. And, you meet sort of this high schooler and he's there and he witnesses this thing while everybody else is drunk and nobody's really paying attention. Nobody sees what happens except for this other kid who lies. You see the protagonist witnessing a fucking murder and then doing the right thing and confessing it and telling the truth. And then because of that, the rest of the movie is him having to fucking justice not being served, right? Nobody's helping him. And maybe his dad is also just kind of like, they're not going to do anything to you. They're just fucking high schoolers, minimizing it. And so this kid gets fucking death threats and the grocery store threat. And like maybe he gets fucking beat up one day, maybe they do attack his dad's business. Maybe they fucking kill his dad, like a Peter Parker kind of Uncle Ben situation. All to the point where, the climax of the movie, or now I'm fucking talking about it like it's a movie. The climax of the book is, that this kid who has been fucking beat to the ground for doing the right thing finally decides, I got to take matters into my own hands. The system isn't going to help me. I got to fucking become the system. And he commits a violent act, and maybe like he murders Carlos. And then he just fucking, it's one of those like Joker stories where, at the end of the story, you were rooting for him to kill Carlos because of all that he's fucking been put through. And because the system hasn't helped him. But you're also like, well, now you're no better than him. You fucking, now the kid is transformed into a murderer. And the whole speech he gave at the beginning has like shifted, right? Because he said like it's worth dying to tell the truth, and now he's like, fuck no, dude, it's worth killing to save yourself, right? He just becomes not a monster, but like if you've seen the movie Beasts of No Nation, he becomes like Agu, dude. He becomes just this kid that's like, if I am telling you this, you will think that I am a monster, but I am also a brother and a son and a friend, just like this fucking like, I didn't want to do this. God, man, that's like one of the most memorable fucking movie scenes in the world. If you don't know it already, just look up ending of Beasts of No Nation. And so I just thought about that story and I was like, all right, man, dreams really do come true if you make them. And what else, man? What else? That was a fucking intense story, wasn't it? I told that story at the Christmas Eve dinner, and the women were like, that's fucking dark. And I was like, yeah, man, tell me about it. I have dreams like that every fucking day, Speaking of that, I had another one. I won't tell you this one because it's faded somewhat from my memory. But it involved my dad and it involved violence. And it happened after I had a phone call with my dad. A classic dad phone call, if you're a part of my family. Where, he called me and was just like, hey, I'm just calling to see how you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And are you? So we, sort of chit chat for a little bit. And then he tells me like, yeah, well, I've been really stressed out about this thing that I don't know if I told you when you were down here. I don't even know if it had happened, he says. But I told your brother. And all this already, I'm just like, that's a terrible way of introducing whatever it is you're about to tell me, my first thought is like, oh, you got fucking cancer or you're going to die or whatever, man. And he says, well, some people came by my workplace. And now I'm like, oh, that's worse. You're going to get murdered. You're not going to die of natural causes. You're going to get fucking murdered. And he said, one of the neighbors is trying to sue me for noise and for building on fucking private property or public property. And it was like, it boils down to that the government was trying to come after my dad and to like lift a lawsuit and go to court. And he said, you know, if it goes to court, I'm gonna be fucking screwed. But don't worry, I'm not gonna go to prison. I'll kill myself before that happens. And I'm like, dude, lovely conversation, Dad. Lovely conversation. This is just what I wanted to hear as I wrap up my shift at work. You know, um, and so I'm just like, all right, well, that sounds stressful, man. What are you gonna do about it? He's like, I don't know, man. I got lawyers already. It's all being sorted out, hopefully, but it's just been stressful and fucking blah blah. I'm like, yeah, man. Well, stress is your life, all right? Stress is your fucking life, and you don't seem to care about that. You don't seem to fucking do anything about it, so I can't help you, man. But you know, I say, you know, that's terrifying, man. I hope it works out for you, and you know, it's like my dad has become fucking Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, and he's just this like, you know, this fucking beat up old man that doesn't know what to do anymore, you know. It's like, no, it's actually like Benjamin Button, you know, like his fucking, he had to become an adult really early on in his life, and now he's just reverse aging into a fucking toddler, where he's just, you know, he is in this awful situation. Like, dude, I was, before he called me, I was just thinking like, oh man, I'm not gonna have a job. What am I gonna do? And then I get a call from my dad, and I just get this fucking reality check of like, oh, I'm not worried about going to prison and getting fucking butt raped or fucking my throat slit, dude. You know, I'm not worried about becoming somebody's bitch. I'm worried about, you know, where's my fucking next job gonna be? Oh, am I doing things that are meaningful? Like, and it's just silly to me. It's just silly to me that my dad has all of the stuff and things and knowledge and everything that he has, and he chooses to live this life, man. You know, there's obviously a lot of underlying trauma and there's all these reasons why, but it's just, at the end of the day, man, it is silly. It's fucking silly, you know? And it got me thinking, you know, as he was telling me this, in my mind, and maybe this was a way for me to dissociate from what was happening, I don't know. But in my mind, I was just like, oh, dude, my dad's life isn't going to have a happy ending. You know, when I realized that, it was like, I just thought about the movie The Godfather, the first one, when he's in the hospital and people are trying to come after him and murder him, and fucking I think it's Sonny, if that's fucking uh Al Pacino's character, I think so. I can't remember. And he's like, you know, he's protecting him and he realizes that, and they card him out or whatever. But I just realized that like there's so many forces that are beyond my control now that, that my dad's not gonna have a happy ending, man. That's what I realized, was like, he's gonna have a fucking Godfather ending where he he collapses in his fucking backyard because of all the stress. Um, and he never saw the, you know, the other side of the tunnel. He never saw the light at the end of the tunnel. He collapses in his fucking vineyard. Or he's just gonna get like fucking, you know, I was just thinking, man, like, if my dad went to fucking prison, man, like, that would just, you know, it would just be like, ah, man, that fucking blows. You know, to see somebody who had all this opportunity just put it all down the gutter because of pride and because of pain and because of fear. Um, yeah, man. Like, how fucking easy it would be for him to find, like a professional realtor, like some Jimmy Rex type, to sell his property for him and then have, enough money to live the rest of his life, and he could fucking, spend 90 days in the US with his kids and then travel to Portugal to see his daughter and then go back to Mexico and fucking see his family for a little bit and then come back another 90 days, like, and just have like the dream ending, man. And how he's just, I don't see him choosing that, I don't see that being the case. With enough luck, it might still happen, despite him and his efforts to fucking burn it all to the ground. But yeah, I just don't see my dad having a happy ending, man. And that's a tough blow, especially when you talk to him every time and you're reminded of this, and you're reminded of this, and you're fucking, yeah. um, I will. Yeah, man. I'll try to wrap it up with something a little bit more positive. I went on a walk the other day, just this long, long walk, and I didn't take my watch. I didn't take my phone. I just took my clothes and myself and my apartment keys. And part of the reason that I don't take any of that is so that I'm not tempted to look at my phone or to disconnect from what I'm trying to connect with, which is nature and myself. And as I got to the trail, the trailhead, I was struck by an idea, right? For the memoir that I'm working on, a memory would basically was just like, oh, remember that fucking time that it was my dad's birthday and I gave him a gift and he laughed and said, "What did you take this out of my fucking wallet?" I was like a 17-year-old kid. We were out for lunch, and I just put 500 pesos in the check, the bill or whatever. And when he opened it, he saw the money there. He laughed, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's my Christmas present." I didn't have a lot of money. That was a big deal for me. And he laughed and he said, "What, did you take this out of my wallet?" Like, and I was crushed, man. I was fucking crushed. This going back to the gift giving, that was what gift giving was for me, man. It was giving somebody a gift and then being fucking ridiculed and made fun of and fucking almost shamed for it. And I've been having a harder time finding some of these moments where it was really, really difficult for me as a kid, because I bounced back and forth between my last relationship and my moments in my childhood, in some of the parts in the memoir. And so I just got this perfect idea, and I was like, "Oh fuck, dude! Now I don't have anything to write it down with." And I just stopped for a moment and I said, "Okay, be creative. How can you make sure that you don't forget this when you get home?" And I was just like, what can I write it down with fucking a rock or something? And I said, "Oh, a rock." And so I picked up a rock and I looked at the rock and I was like, this rock will remind me of that time at my dad's birthday lunch where I fucking tried to pay for some of it and he laughed at me and, blah, 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 blah. I said all those things I just said. And then I put the rock in one of my pockets, because at the end I will return home and there will be a fucking rock in my pocket, and then I won't, like, why was that fucking rock there? Oh, because that rock will remind me. It was just this really sweet moment of of simplicity. And you don't need a fucking computer in your pocket to write down your simple ideas. we're capable of so much more. And I know that this sounds like a silly example to be saying that, but it was really one of those moments where I was looking at the fucking forest and I was like, how do I not forget something in the next 2 hours? Because I had just started my walk. And it was far enough away that I wasn't going to go all the way back to my apartment for something to, like, and how, dude, how would you fucking do that? If I hadn't told you the method with the rock, dude, you might have not had an answer. You might not have had an answer. Um, and yeah, and I don't know why, but I had like, after I had this wonderful idea, halfway through my walk, I just get this fucking leg pain, like this like internal leg pain. And I flash back to the car accident I was in when I was 13. And when the doctor said, like, you need to treat your leg with care, because otherwise, if it had been damaged more, it might have been, you might never have been able to play sports again. And he also, I remember, I think he said, even with the damage that was done now, you're not going to be able to play sports again the same way. Like, you're always going to have to remember that this leg was hurt, because my fucking, like, my hip bone was fractured or something, man. And it's always the same pain that comes back. And yeah, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it was just, I don't know, man. I don't know why I'm fucking telling you this. Wrap this up with the napkin plan. I made a napkin plan for 2021. If you don't know what a napkin plan is, it's like your New Year's resolutions, but with a little bit more of intention. And so I will show you my napkin plan. Just, it's not an actual fucking, it's not an actual napkin. That fucking light is bright. This is just like a little Post-it thing. But it's got a few sections to it, and I'll just go through mine. Instead of trying to tell you all the fucking ways that you're supposed to do this exercise, I just go through mine, because I think that the point of this exercise is to go with your intuition, your gut feeling, and not the way that New Year's resolutions is like, oh, I should get in shape, and fucking, I'm fat, I should get in shape, I'm lazy, I should go for walks more, like all this shame bullshit. The napkin plan is a better way to make your New Year's resolutions. So you start off, there's 5 sections to the napkin plan. There's the personal intention for the year, there is the word for the year, and then there's the 3 sections: self, which is all the things you want to do that year to honor yourself. There is others, all the stuff you want to do to honor others and your relationship with them. And then there's work, everything that you want to do to honor your work and to, get to wherever you're trying to go with that. So my personal intention for the year 2021 is that I want 2021 to be the year I start building my community and prioritize being over doing. And what I mean by building my community is, some of that I mean like online. I want to try to establish more of a community, whether that's on Twitter or fucking wherever, man. The podcast, we got 33 subscribers, started with fucking 13. That's something, that's progress. And prioritize being over doing, because doing for me has been a way to avoid feeling, right? And I think that what I've been learning as I've been doing this hour-long meditation for 60 days challenge thing is that when you just sit and you just exist, then all the stuff that you're running away from comes up. And so I want to try to, be and be a little bit more than I do, and get my worth from being and not just doing. Um, and yeah, so for myself, I want to make a new friend. I want to write. I want to read. I want to exercise, and I want to do at least one more plant medicine ceremony. Um, so another, psilocybin mushroom, hero dose, or MDMA, or whatever. And so, just a brief note on these: when I say write and read and exercise, it's not about, you don't want to quantify it, because once you quantify it, now it feels like a chore. If I said I want to write 3 books this year, then it's like, fuck, dude. Now there's this expectation. If I said I want to read 60 books this year, it's like, all right, man, fucking get on it, or else you're not gonna. And so it's the point in not quantifying it is that this isn't about like I have to do all these things. It's about, no, I want to do these things, but if I don't make a new friend this year, I can make a new friend the next year. I can make a new friend in 2022. And so for others, I put road trip with Rob. That's my brother. Road trip with Chris. That's one of my good friends. Swim with Dad. That could be scuba diving in Mexico, or it could be swimming in the creek here in Austin, which is kind of what my intention was. Collaborate on a rap song with Andres, who was my last guest on The Pupil's Life in Spanish. And because he and I send each other these fucking like improvised rap freestyle things, and he's started to take rap a little more seriously, a lot more seriously. And it would just be a dream, man, to get to make a song with him and have like a song that I could listen to where it's him and I. And the final one for others is Los Angeles trip to see Lena, who has been on the podcast, Eric, who has also been on the podcast recently, and my grandparents. And that's the only one that I'm not super sure about, because LA right now is like fucking going to hell. California is just like fucking going to hell. And then for work, I finish writing new memoir, publish a book, not necessarily that one, find a who. If you've listened to any of my Who Not How book talk, I want to find a who, somebody that can help me do something instead of me figuring out how to do it. I want to have Tucker Max on the podcast, and I want to intern or do free work for an entrepreneur or a startup. So that's my napkin plan for 2021. And I got my brother to do one. His girlfriend did one. And I sent out an email in my newsletter with a little bit more detail as far as what this will look like. And if you want to read that, you go to sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. That's sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. And you can sign up for the newsletter at that link. And you can also, there's like a little small font at the beneath the sign up thing that says like, I want to check it out first. And if you hit that, then you can find the newsletter that I sent out where I talk about the napkin plan and just go a little bit more in depth with that. But yeah, if you're interested in healing lessons or, my little things like this, I'm developing this idea called the surrender journal that I'll be talking about on my newsletter and probably on here too, but a little bit more in depth in the newsletter. If you're interested in that or in writing lessons, I send out writing prompts every week, once a week, no spam. You can unsubscribe anytime. That's sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. That is the Pupil's Life podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I will see you next week. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. and take care of yourself.